Hello and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in this week. So this week I'm going to talk about new home construction and the cost associated with building something. We always hear the story from builders and developers in the news that says, well, we can't build them that cheap, or you can't build homes this cheap anymore. This is why homes are so expensive. And I say it's BS, and I'm going to show you why. First, let's get into the latest bank sale activity from Toronto and the surrounding areas. So as you can see, as of October 13th last week, bank sales continue to trend up on both boards or both systems. So is the 12 boards now surrounding the GTA, 155 active bank sales on there. And look at Toronto. Toronto keeps trending up. I'm sure we will have a pullback at some point in the winter months, but it's continually trending upward. And of course, I think those numbers are still pretty low. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot higher numbers in the new year. So let's get on to building a house, and I want to take you through kind of the steps and how I'm going to get to my final numbers. So when you're building a house, there's of course the land, the construction costs, taxes, and development fees, and all the rest of this. So I'm going to break it down. But first, let's get some numbers to work with so we can accurately break down this cost. Starting off with NerdWallet, how much does it cost to build a house in Canada 2024? The average cost to build a single-family house in Canada's major cities ranges from $120 to $320 per square foot. Factors that affect costs include location and materials. So this is just construction costs. They don't break it down if it needs or if it includes development fees or whatnot, but I'm going to include those separately. And it seems that most people get these calculations from the Altus group, which is I believe, a big data collection group with construction costs and whatnot, development costs, using price per square foot figures from the 2024 Canadian Cost Guide published by the Altus group. And here you have 1,000 square foot home, average cost to build a 1,000 square foot home, Vancouver, 120 or 190 to 320,000, and it goes down the list, 175 to 255 in Calgary. Edmonton, same as Calgary. Winnipeg, 170 to 245. Toronto, 210 to 285. Ottawa, 145 to 230. I'm going to use an Ottawa price because I'm not in Toronto, but when I get into my figures, I'm in Niagara. So I'm going to use the Ottawa pricing, which is different than the next one. I think they screwed up the next one, but we'll get into that now in a second. Montreal, 140 to $200,000 for a 1,000 square foot house. And you move on to 2,000 square foot homes, which kind of seems to be the norm these days. Well, they're mostly 2 stories, but the 2 stories homes is an average of 2,000 square feet in these big cities. And of course, the prices are there. The next article is from Forbes. How much does it really cost to build a house in Canada? And here's a rough estimate of what you can expect to pay to build a home in some of Canada's major cities. Calgary, 150 to 300 per square foot. Edmonton, 130 to 240. Montreal, 140 to 350. St. John's, 130 to 350, and so on. And I'm going to use, like I said, the Ottawa numbers, 140 to 375. Now that 375 is high. The other page, I think it was 230 or something, but I'm still going to use well over $200 a square foot, which you can see is very fair given these numbers. A lot of them are starting at 140 and 120 even on the last page. And it goes on to say what can affect the cost of building a home. Buying the land at the top there. Buying the land is the most expensive part. And of course, that's really what kind of sets the benchmark. But it's not a fixed cost. Land prices go up and down. And a lot of people, this is why they say you can't build them any cheaper. Well, you can, because if you can get the land cheaper, or if the government can unlock the land, or whatever the case may be, the municipalities make it easier to develop the land, less red tape, land costs will come down. Preparing the land, of course, building permits, architecture, and planning. Now, this is a big one. Now, the government's coming out with their preset housing plans like it's a big deal, but this is the smallest piece of the pie when you're building a house, the architectural plans. Unless you're building a custom-built house, and it's sure it goes on to say here, you can end up paying about 12% of the total cost of your home on plans alone, and that's just for custom plans there. But on the other hand, if you have pre-existing plans and just need to be looked over and reviewed, your costs can drop significantly and may only be around $1,000 to $3,000. I've heard of many people, and $3,000 seems to be very achievable. I'm not even talking on the low end. $3,000. I just had a friend put a big addition on their house, and they paid $3,000 for the plans, and they were from scratch. They weren't modified from the internet. I've had people I know close to me that have built homes custom homes they built themselves, but they used pre-existing plans and just got an architect to modify them for local codes and whatnot and move walls and whatever else. So $3,000 is very realistic when it comes to plans, unless you're building some big custom built house. It goes on to the tradespeople and the materials, but those are included in the construction costs. So now let's look at what some new homes built in 2024 are selling for in my area. Now, I'm using my area because it's consistent data. My area is very representative of Canada, actually. The average price in Canada right now is $650 to $700, depending on what month you're looking at, and same with my region. So again, it is very representative. I'm not picking a low-priced area here. $650 to $700 is the norm for the average house price in my area. So looking here, we have one. This is 1 year old, or sorry, not even 1 year old. It says it was completed in 2024. And let's look at this here. This is a small 1,400 square foot two-story, which is small for a two-story. 1,400 square foot. I would always say like a two-story, you want to start around 1,600 at least. So this would be on the small side. Nothing special when it comes to finishes here. Let's look inside. Basic finishes, laminate floor and whatnot. Nothing special in the bathroom. They did some staging or virtual staging here, but let's look past that. Look at the kitchen in there. We'll look at it now in a second. I'm not hacking this person's listing up, but this is, again, a basic starter home. The builder probably built this for $140 to $150 a square foot. Also in this area, now this price is $699 on this house. These lots were purchased from the developer. They have a deal with the developer, the builders, right? They were like less than $100,000 most likely. I'm pretty sure they were. I'm not exaggerating here. So they got the lot cheaper than you or I could buy the lot, which makes sense. They're doing bulk buys or bulk commitments to these developers, and they're getting a very good deal on a lot. So like this house was built for probably $250,000 for the construction and $100,000. Like it was probably built for like $300 to $350. All said and done, which is pretty insane. Again, nothing special in the kitchen here. Basic cabinets, and they put an oak staircase. That's all I've seen so far as for real nice stuff. But again, look, carpet in the bedrooms. Basic house. Look at the closet doors here. Basic house, right? And again, that one was $699. If I was building a house, I would not build this house. This is a starter home, in my opinion. It's got a one-car garage. I'd need at least a two-car garage. And it's just not something I would build. And also, I did see the builder, I think the same builder that built that, they are offering detached starting at $709 right now. So it's around $700 for that house is what a builder would charge right now. Now moving on to this next one here. This is just under $1 million. This is in a small place, Camden. It's in Niagara, nice area. This is a fully serviced lot. I looked up the lots on the street. 2 of them sold this year for $250,000 each, and they had full services, sewer, water, everything at the lot line. Maybe you had to pay for the laterals to be cut in. I'm not sure. But again, they were fully serviced lots, same size as this one here. Now, this is something I could see myself building. This is a 1,700 square foot bungalow, 3 beds, 3 bathrooms. I would probably keep mine to 1,500 or so, but let's check this out here. Some nice finishes, stone on the outside, nice garage door. Even the driveway's exposed aggregate, or maybe it's just gravel there still. Nice place. Kitchen's upgraded, of course, not that basic cabinets we saw from the last one. Looks like it has some quartz counters there and whatnot. Decent fixtures. So it's, this is a decent build here. Nice flooring. And, I would say I could see myself building something like this. I'm not looking for a palace here. I'm not looking for high-end finishes. I just want above average or average finishes, I should say, not low-quality builder grade. I hate that term, builder grade. Okay, so I want you to remember those 2 homes. We had a 1,400 and so odd square foot 2-story starter home with basic finishes for $699.9. Builders offering it for around $709 right now. And there's that one, the bungalow for $1 million, 1,700 square foot bungalow for $1 million, double car garage. So let's see what we can build these for. So let's start off by putting a price on the land before we go any further. So these are the land prices in Niagara. These are under half an acre and all residential. And this again is just the Niagara region because I have to keep it local because I want to be as accurate as possible. And you can see, look, in 2022, the land prices peaked up to $400,000 for the average lot under half an acre. And of course, you'll see now they're coming down. They were higher last year in 2023. So land prices are trending down. Actually, they trended down significantly. So just imagine all those people that paid $400,000. Those are probably the ones you see on MLS right now for sale. The new homes are with builders, small builders, I should say, where they're into these things. They probably spent $400,000 to $500,000 on the construction of the house, plus they bought the land. So they're finding it hard to break even right now, although they don't want to give up those profits. So there's still profit out there. And you can see on the right side there the actual numbers, right? So yeah, we're trending down, which is obviously great. Here I've just overlaid, and the blue line is the number of land sales. So you can see they've plummeted. So they peaked just at the same time the prices peaked, and these are yearly prices and yearly trends with the number of sales. So they have dropped off a cliff since 2021 they peaked. 2022 was half of that, and now they're down to 40 there. Sorry, my thing was in the way. So down to 40 this year. The year's almost over. We might get a few more sales, but again, people are not buying these to profit from them anymore. The builders are actually selling their lots now, the small builders, because they know they can't make any money, probably because they overpaid for the lot. And just to put it in perspective there, so the price is down. The average price for land is down 33% from 2022, and the sales from 2021 to 2023 are down 71%. So that's a good indication or very good confirmation that land sales and land prices are going down and becoming more affordable. This is great. This is going to make building more affordable. Just want to compare that now to actual house sales to see how that trend is. And you can see, of course, it did peak in 2022. These are yearly numbers, not monthly. So the decline from the peak is not as big because it's a yearly average here. But you can see, as opposed to it was 33% for land prices declining, homes have only declined 11.6%, and the number of sales are down 40% as opposed to that 71%. There it is. So seeing this, it's going back to the average price. The average price of a piece of land under half an acre in Niagara region is $270,000 or just under. So we're going to use that for our building purposes or for our estimation purposes so that we can kind of put a concrete number on it. And I think it's fair to say that's a good average number to use. We're building the average house here. We're not going below. We're not going above. Keeping with the average theme, I want to build an average house. Again, I'm not going bigger or smaller. These are all the detached sales, not new homes, but all detached. There was only 88 sales, so I want to get a more accurate representation. All detached sales in the Niagara region, and this year it is 1,441 square feet is the average. So I'm going to bump that up to 1,500 square foot. And I'm doing a bungalow, so I'm not going to build a two-story because they're cheaper. So I want to, again, be representative. Okay, so here's the breakdown of the construction costs and how much it would cost to build a home, a 1,500 square foot bungalow with similar finishes to that bungalow we saw on Realtor.ca there. Paying a little bit more for the lot. I think the lots on that street were $250,000. I don't know how much that builder or that homeowner paid, but again, we're within that range of $270,000. $337,500 to complete the construction for the building costs, and that's a 1,500 square foot at $225 a square foot. And if you remember, they range from $140 to $375 in Ottawa, but then in Toronto they range from I think it was $205 to $285 or something like that. But regardless, it's $225 per square foot. It's an average house. So the biggest cost is the red section, which is the construction cost of the house. Of course, it would be. The next biggest one is in blue there, the land for $270,000. But look at the next one after that. It's the HST, and this is with a $24,000 rebate. I've minus this off. So it was over $80,000 in HST. So you're like at the best part of $100,000, and of course you get your rebate, but 80-something thousand minus your rebate, almost $62,000. It's the next biggest item on the list. Now, do you think the government could do something about this? When you go to the grocery store, you're not paying HST on necessities like food items. Now, shelter is a necessity, but you're paying HST on these new homes, and I just don't think they would ever give this up because they make so much money from it, but they should be giving it up. They should be doing their part to make homes more affordable, and by removing that HST is a big thing, but regardless, it's there now. We will will look at removing it after. I even threw in a project manager. There's my project manager, $50,000 for that project manager. And of course, that could be, if you're buying through a builder, that's your profit. It probably would be more through a builder, probably like $200,000. But regardless, we're talking about building our own house here, and I'm not building it myself. I'm not managing it myself. I'm going to hire someone for that. And then development fees. I have two different municipal and regional fees here. They're around $30,000. Sometimes there are incentives. Certain cities have incentivized, but lately they've been increasing their development fees, a lot of the towns in my area. And the lowest price, or the lowest cost item, is those drawings. Less than 0.5%, $3,000, really nothing. The government's going to come out with these pre-printed drawings, which of course are the least expensive part of building a house. So all said and done, there at the top, you can see $752,000, around $750,000. If you get a lot, or if I can get a lot for $270,000, I can build a nice average bungalow, 1,500 square feet, double car garage for $752,000. Pretty reasonable, right? Of course, there's no profit for builders on that, but I did hire a project manager. Now moving on to that smaller two-story, that starter home, that starter detached two-story. The construction costs on that, there in the red, $245,000, and that's $175 a square foot. So way more expensive than a builder would build that for, because again, I'm doing it myself. This is a two-story, 1,400 square feet. The land, $150,000. It's a smaller lot. I'm on a budget here, right? This is the budget house. So I'm going to maybe go out of town a bit, further out in the region, but there has been many lots that have sold for $125,000 this year. So $150,000 is not unreasonable to get a small lot somewhere on the outskirts, or in a small town. Tax, even with the rebate, it's still $31,000. Then you have your development fees stay the same. It's $30,000, and the blueprints, $3,000. Probably could have got those for a little bit less. But look, $460,000. I just built a starter detached two-story in Niagara, and this is achievable now. Round it up to 500, whatever you want. But for $500,000, you can build a starter home, doing it yourself, no project manager. But hey, if you want to do it, you could probably do it for less. You could probably do it for $425 if you really scrimp and scrape and were frugal with some of your purchases. Now I want to talk about the government's role and how they can help reduce the costs. So back to my original house for $752,000, there it is. Let's remove some of these. Let's remove the HST on it. And they do this with purpose-built rentals. Why do they not do this with end users building homes when we have this housing crisis where young families can't afford a home? If I could build a home, I would sell my home. A nice young family would love my home. But so they're restricting inventory through that. I would build a home anytime now, but it's just not worth it for me. I'm not going to spend $900,000 on a new home here, or building it myself, and or being in some neighborhood. I don't want to be in the neighborhoods where they're building a lot of the homes these days. But again, if I could do it for a reasonable amount of money, I would sell my house, and I would sell it for less than it's worth today. No problem. I have no problem with that. But regardless here, let's look at how they could incentivize this. So the land, of course, the land is depreciating right now. It's sales are down, prices are going down. So let's knock another $25,000 off of that. Let's get it for $200,000. And there has been many lots that have sold for $200,000, but I want something in a decent area. So let's save on the land there. We're trending that way. So 25% off. Now I'm down to $200,000. Let's remove that HST. That was over $60,000 in HST. Let's get rid of that. The government needs to do their part. They're doing it for purpose-built rentals for their communist or socialist agenda, but they should be doing it for the hardworking people. So remove the HST, just like you do on groceries. For necessities, housing's a necessity. It shouldn't be on it, especially when we're in this crisis right now. And of course, the municipalities can do their part, drop their fees by 33%. They've done it before to incentivize on the run-up. Port Colborne, a city or a town in the region, they waived the municipal fees, and the region still kept theirs, but that was more than 33%. So again, not unreasonable. Municipalities or the region, whoever it is, can drop their fees. So just from the government not taxing the hell out of us, and of course a little bit of a break on the land there, we're down at $610,000 for that same average house. That's a big savings. And again, construction cost is still the same. Land's cheaper. Now the government can help with land too. they can incentivize land development and whatnot. A lot of the people say, well, you can't build on the land. Well, they bought the land. The developers or whoever it is, they bought the land. They've been sitting on it. And they say, well, we can't build because, it's just not worth our while. Well, it's not worth your while because you bought the land for a specular price, thinking that you could put X number of units at this price, and it didn't work out. So land prices will need to come down, and the government, they have a lot of power with land to unlock that land. We live in the biggest country in the world, and land shouldn't cost $300,000 or $270,000 in my area for a little parcel. We should get this for like $50,000. It used to be $50,000 not that long ago. But again, speculation on land drove prices up, drove construction prices up, and now everyone's just like, well, you can't build them for that cheap. You can build them. You can build them for $337,000, but all the rest of these fees, the land and the taxes and whatever else. So we need to reduce those costs, and the government needs to step up and do something. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and until next week, I'll see you then.